Hi, it's Norman Koshnek here for Extra Time. I'm with none other than Jim Maxwell, probably the most legendary commentator on air that I've ever seen or heard or dealt with, and also the nicest man as well. He deserves all those accolades. He's been fantastic for years. How many years, in fact, now has it been since you started with the radio?
Oh, it's a long while ago, 1973.
1973, which is now a good 47 years.
Yeah.
Am I right? 47 years.
I was two when I
You were two, and I wasn't even born, of course. That's rubbish. Okay, so Jim and I, we've had our experiences here at the SCG in the third test of the Border Glasgow Trophy, of course, and it was quite an incredible match. Actually, the fact that a test match lasted 5 days, that's incredible in itself, isn't it?
Well, it hadn't happened for 9 test matches in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And that says a bit about a couple of things. Primarily the fact that this pitch is pretty good to bat on if you get in, because it doesn't change in character much, as we saw today, disappointingly from Australia's viewpoint, because they were expecting more up and down bounce. That didn't happen. Yes, I think it's time they dug it up and got some soil out there that's got a bit more excitement about it. Anyway, that's another matter. The game itself was extraordinary because Australia were all over India. But it just goes to show, Norman, you can't rely on run-outs all the time.
No, you can't. You cannot do that. 3
in the first innings, and in this innings, India only lost 3 wickets in the day. I mean, that in itself was remarkable. But, Australia had a few chances. They put Pant down early on, and they dropped 2 catches after tea. I think if there was a one ball of the day that sort of changed the game, it was that first ball after tea bowled by Pat Cummins to Ashwin. Short, lifting, fended off, caught by Payne, out. Reviewed, wasn't hitting glove, hitting arm. And from there on, Australia overdid the short ball. They needed to be more full at the stumps, and I think that cost them. But sure, some resolute, courageous batting from India. Always fear the wounded batsman, because he goes into his shell and gets more determined, and Vihari did that. So it was a great get out from India, given all the issues with injuries and the fact that they were a bowler short with Jadeja. It was interesting that Jadeja apparently was going to bat if required.
He was all padded up, ready to go, actually.
Yes, well, whether that was a bluff or not, I don't know. It wasn't required. It was a great escape. Great escape.
I must say, though, Vihari, now his running between the wickets has left a lot to be desired this test match. He didn't have to run very much in that innings at all, because he just stayed at one end and the ball triddled all the way to the boundary, didn't quite get there, and he wasn't running. So it actually suited them both. They were both, in fact, Ashwin and Vihari were notoriously run out in this particular test match, weren't they?
They were, but they got in the second innings, and I think they worked out that Ashwin said, I'll take the spin at one end and you take the quicks at the other. And they seem to have a bit of a plan going there. But what I liked about the day, apart from their 3.5 hour batting to save it, was the way that Pant played. Because it was tantalising, okay. They were probably never going to win the game, but as long as he was going, there was something happening in the middle just to put the bowlers off a little bit and keep Australia on their toes. So his belligerence made a big difference today, because when Rahane was out to the 10th ball of the day, you thought, okay, that's it. And I was thinking of a bet I had as I left home with my wife. As I went out the door, she said, India will draw this game. I said, you're talking nonsense. They'll be all out by lunch.
Well, she won that bet, didn't she?
She won the bet.
Now, I must just make a point there, which is extremely interesting. You talked about the way the test actually went, but no one would have ever thought there was a draw coming out of this match. We have to take our hats off to India for their effort, certainly.
Oh, yeah. It was a huge performance, as it was in Melbourne, to come back from being bowled out for 36. So, yeah, they've shown a lot of character and resolve to fight the way they've been able to fight. I just hope they can get the right balance of players from what they've got left for the next test. But mind you, Australia's bowlers, they'll be knackered after today, and backing up on 3 days' time, that's going to be hard for them too.
And Pattinson's not around as well. That's another loss to the Australian unit.
Well, yes, I suppose they could always play Nisa if they're looking for another bowler, but that's a question around the other problems Is Warner 100% fit? I don't
certainly
think
not.
so. And Bukowski's shoulder.
Yeah, he was off for most of the afternoon, wasn't he?
Yeah, he went off for scans apparently. I don't know what happened, but he's got some problem there. So
just one quick point that I wanted to talk to you about. I don't expect you to go into too much detail if you don't want to. This whole situation with the so-called slurs, the racially driven slurs, or the slanderous comments, whatever they may have been. What's your take on that?
Oh well, any behaviour like that from the crowd's totally unacceptable. Of course, wherever it takes place, whether it's here, any country of the world, that's not acceptable. But there's a certain edginess around all of the things happening in the game, which was evident today, I think, and we'll hear more about it as we go on. I mean, Payne's already copped a fine for dissent with the umpire. I'm not sure what's occurring there. I actually didn't think to me today was a bit like Headingley. I don't think his captaincy is as brilliant as everyone says. He may be respected, but I don't think on that particular occasion at Headingley he showed quite enough imagination, and I think the same today to organise his troops. It's always a tough gig though, wicket keeping and captaining, and when the pressure's on, it can sometimes it just cause you to be a little off tactically. So but look, that's what can happen in a game played on a benign pitch. If you don't take your chances, all of a sudden, whoops, it's not happening. Even though this quartet of bowlers is exceptional, and we may see that on a different surface in Brisbane.
Well, a slightly
Friday.
more bouncier surface, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for your time, Jim. This has been wonderful having you. As always, Jim Maxwell is the most welcoming person. Remember the day we went to Barrel together, which we enjoyed immensely?
Yeah.
It was great. We should do that again.
Right.
Do that again.
We will.
Well, thank you. This is Norman Koshnak. Thank you. This is Jim Maxwell, Norman Koshnak here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Day 5 is finished. It was a draw, guys. India did exceptionally well. This is Norman Koshnak for Extra Time.